all familiar with the kind of descriptions available on teachers, the idea of their punctuality, their attitude, commitment, care for children, and attitude for preparations and things like that. But normally these sort of perspectives wouldn't allow us to analyze the role and the identity and the personality of teachers within the classroom. So I think we need to be looking at teachers in a little more complex and a little more complicated way. So I have, for the sake of convenience, I've divided the competences of teachers into 6 heads. I think that will help us to understand the diverse expertise expected of teachers. Number 1, content knowledge. We know that teachers' real foundation stands on the quality of knowledge that they possess on the content that they are transacting with their children, right? So content is very crucial. We know that much of this content side is unaddressed in their college days or maybe after that. And of course, still you're working on, the teachers are still working on their content. So content is an ever-evolving, ever-renewing terrain where the teacher is doing a lot of homework to update his or her competence in the subject that she's teaching with the students. So I remember one of my friends jokingly saying, as an English teacher, what I'm trying to do with my student is to give the kind of English that is available currently in England right now at this point of time. So that indicates the quality which he thinks should be given to the content. We have the conception called high voltage information. What do you mean by high voltage information? If I say something to my children, if the children can use it today itself, that knowledge is called high voltage information. You must be remembering our college days where professors were saying like this, recently in 1920. So these kind of carelessness cannot be managed within the classroom. So my point first is this: she must be very up to date, very current, very contemporary in his or her knowledge in the content. So what is the latest development happening? What is the recent engagement happening in these areas? I think that should be given to children depending on their classrooms, which doesn't mean that a primary teacher should be giving all these to a first standard. Sure, that is not the case, but a teacher should be aware of the recent developments, the recent initiatives in that area. So that is number 1. Number 2 is pedagogic content knowledge. Most of our teachers are almost okay with their content. Many studies vouch for that. Many teachers are very strong in their content scholarship. But when it comes to the idea of pedagogic scholarship, our teachers are really lagging in a way. It's a simple, bare fact. We all know that we are living in a period of child-centeredness, right? We claim that we are child-centered, child-focused, learning-centered, learning-focused teachers. But a recent study conducted in the West indicated a very disturbing fact. What is that fact? The fact is simple. In a study conducted by some popular universities in the West, the finding was very, very disturbing. We say that our classrooms are learner-centered, but the study identified something diagonally opposite. Most of the classrooms they found are either teacher dominated, teacher fronted, or teacher led. The question of learner centeredness is absolutely missing. So, my point is this: we cannot compromise the idea of learner centeredness just as a cosmetic, decorative term lurking in the discussions happening in the different academic circles. So we have to be very conscious and serious about pedagogy. And thirdly is the assessment scholarship. We know the value of assessment in any curriculum. We talk about the washback effect of assessment on curriculum. No, we say it jokingly in Kerala, even in Trivandrum, if you go to Trivandrum, any auto rickshaw driver, any layman can direct you to the examination bhavan, we call it Pariksha Bhavan. And we know that SCRT is very close by, but many people do not know where the SCRT is, but they are very strong about the Pariksha Bhavan. So that clearly indicates the kind of value, the kind of importance we attach to assessment, the washback effect of assessment. But we know that the fate and career and the destiny of children are influenced by the assessment decisions we make inside the classroom. But if you look at the assessment expertise, or if you analyze the competence, the assessment protocol of the teachers, we find that it is absolutely lacking, or not that up to date. So what can be done to improve the assessment scholarship of teachers? We know that lots of researches are happening on assessment in different parts of the world, but unfortunately our teachers are not serious about tracking all those scholarships. We know the assessment procedures have been shifting progressively towards internal or continuous and comprehensive evaluations. So how much are our competence in terms of the diverse practices, diverse techniques, diverse strategies of continuous and comprehensive assessment? Or what are the strategies we should use in tracking the assessment in a techno-pedagogy context, right? We know that our education is progressively moving towards tech-friendly education. So what are we going to do to transform our assessment protocols to suit to these contexts? That's also equally important. We all talk about the non-invasive assessment strategies, how to make it very less in impact, less invasive, less pressuresome, very friendly kind of an assessment. Right? Teachers should work on all these things in a meaningful way. And fourthly is scholarship on the various documents emerging in the context of education. We know that whatever decisions we undertake, whatever programs we announce within the classroom is really an offshoot of the kind of documents that's being, published by the prominent, bodies of education in India and outside. For example, if you look at the recent draft educational policy, how many of us are aware of the draft policy, announced recently by the government of India? It makes very, very consequential, far-reaching seizures on education. In terms of the basic segmentations of education, they are making some far-reaching changes. They're talking about very creative assessment procedures. They're talking about integrating Indian culture meaningfully. They talk about teachers becoming a significant presence into the classroom. So take, for example, the other documents, the documents by UN, right? Documents on the roles and responsibility of teachers. I think we as teachers should be familiar with all these documents so that you can make a very progressive, very meaningful presence within the classroom. So far I have talked to you about 4 crucial scholarship all teachers must possess in their career as teachers. Number 1, content knowledge. Number 2, pedagogic content knowledge. Number 3, assessment scholarship. Number 4, the scholarship on the key educational documents. And last but not the least, we know that you are teaching human beings. You're not like a government bureaucrat. You're not dealing with documents or files. You're managing living human beings. You're managing adolescents. You're managing small children. You're managing kids. So you should know what are the strategies where you engage these people. So what are the creative ways with which you undertake different pedagogic activities within the classroom? It's very, very crucial. The strategies that you employ with adolescents may not be the strategies that you employ with your primary children. So it's a very complicated engagement. So as teachers, we must know what are the recent developments, what are the latest research findings in psychology of children or the psychology of learning happening. So to say one simple example, in the case of adolescents, the recent studies in psychology say that as teachers, we cannot be unnecessarily protective like mother inside the classroom, right? We know that mothers are very possessive, very protective of their children. But as teachers, of course, you can manage that kind of a visage of a mother. But if you are dealing with adolescent children meaningfully, this persona of a protective, cautious mother is not that progressive academically, psychologically, or pedagogically. So we need to have a professional approach with our adolescent children. Of course, you can love them, you can care them, you can support them all the time. But the idea of patronizing, the idea of protective personality which you maintain with your children is really, really problematic. So these are some of the areas I think we should look at when we talk about the creative professionalization, the creative expertise of teachers within the classroom. Thank you very much.